If you Uprising, welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover this topic because trending recently has been Save the Planet by 2025. If you haven't heard about it, it's this big thing from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, and they've been talking about how we're doomed and a lot is going to happen by 2025 if we don't act now. And of course, we know what that means. Nobody's acting because there's nothing to act on. It just means that they're preparing people for something to occur. And then I'm going to mix in and show you some of this stuff that people point out on the website, callforunuprising.com, about depopulation, and things that Deagle reported on years ago about what the population would be by 2025 and who would be to blame. And of course, they'll blame the outbreak and they'll blame climate change, and nobody will ever blame their government, even though they have the Georgia Guidestones under full protection, telling everybody what the real 10 commandments of America are, because this is Babylon telling everybody that we need to have the population down very, very far to 500 million people to, well, when you're in the billion range, 8 billion or so, which we're not at right now, but we're pretty close still. Who knows, give or take, what's happening to those who are taking the potion, who are just vanishing off the face of the earth pretty quickly. Obviously, we know the goal's always been to take the population number down. But let's start with this. The Climate Change IPCC is prepping people, of course. What are they prepping people for? Something to occur by 2025. The dangers of climate change have been well reported for years, but what's had less attention is how the world could effectively tackle the issue. Yesterday, UN scientists laid out a plan that they believe could help people avoid the worst impacts of rising temperatures. The report by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change essentially calls for a revolution in how we produce energy and power our world. To avoid dangerous warning carbon emissions, blah, 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 even when technology to pull CO2 from the air will still be needed to keep temperatures down. Then they go on to recommend what the IPCC says. And they say keeping the world under 1.5 degrees Celsius requires emissions to peak by 2025, the researchers say, and shrink by 43% by the end of this decade. 43%. So pretty much just say half of it, right? Well, it'll decrease when they have half that population number down. And that brings me into what Deagle has reported on. Deagle, which people use to check out, what the forecast is of, countries and stuff. And this is 2017. You could look at America here. There's other countries as well, and there's worldwide figures on the side. You could see the US dollar in 2017. About how much? Let's see. 327 million is the population. The population will be down 100 million, right? And pretty bizarre that they think that with the advancements in modern technology that we have, right? We're not supposed to have the population down, are we? Oh, right. The people who control the technology and all that stuff, actually their goal is to have the population down. But usually year after year after year, especially with advancements in medicine and science, the population would continuously go up unless, of course, somebody like this, who doesn't like population very much, got his hands on something.
In this year's annual letter, Melinda and I take the toughest questions we get asked and give our answers. One that's come up for a long time is, as we make the world healthier, is the population going to get so big that feeding everybody and maintaining the environment is going to be impossible? Here we can see a chart that looks at the total world population over the last several hundred years. And at first glance, this is a bit scary. We go from less than 1 billion in 1800, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.4 billion where we are today is happening even faster. So Melinda and I wondered whether providing new medicines and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem? What we found out is that as health improves, families choose to have less children. And this effect is very, very dramatic. We find that in every country of the world, this is repeated. The population growth goes down as we improve health. So we've taken that chart that shows the global population growth, and we've actually extended it out all the way to 2100. And we can see that instead of continuing, it actually flattens out. Another way to see that is through this rate of population growth. And you can see that in the 60s, that reached a pretty high number, over 2% per year, and it's now come way, way down. Now, 11 billion people, still a lot, but the good news is that the faster we improve health, the faster family size goes down, and so we can feel great about saving those lives.
Well, thanks for that, Bill. So, of course, I mean, people hear stuff like that. That's from 2018. And nobody, and I've used that clip before, nobody's suspicious at all, right? When this guy's the face of something that occurs, and then he's openly saying that should we even give medicine to people who are sick, because won't that cause overpop? Yeah, that's a great mindset, Bill. Let's give you the keys to the entire outbreak situation that we just occurred, of course, and we had Event 201, which who do you think was behind it and funded it? But again, when you live in this time period of people who are more concerned about trying to define, like I keep saying, what a woman is, you know what the mindset of this absolute insane society is. So when you look at some of the things that Daigle predicted, they said massive global depopulation by 2025. So when the IPCC and the UN come out and they're talking about by 2025, if we don't have emissions at this certain number, which we know we're never going to get to anyway, they will use that as an excuse for why the numbers are down. They'll mix in, of course, the outbreak, and they will never mix in what really would cause it, which is what came from the outbreak, what people did to themselves. So the global depopulation of 50 to 80% by 2025. Daigle, which is an intelligence organization for the U.S. government, predicts a massive 50 to 80% global depop by 2025. Few people are familiar with this website, and even more say the organization does not legitimately exist. Despite the overwhelming removal of its significance, WikiLeaks documents revealed that it was legitimately used as a reference material in a Stratfor report on the technological capabilities of the North Pole's Republic of Korea. According to its own site, Daigle provides news and information on international military, aviation, and advanced technologies. The website contains articles from 2003, but little is known about the real owners, just kind of like the Georgia Guidestones, even though we have, a fake story. What's the guy's name? John Smith? John Doe might as well be. Daigle reports particularly the aforementioned research. The advance of these forecasts is that Daigle's site has no conflict of interest in these forecasts. They are literally mercenaries. The site analyzes which budgets will be allocated to which markets to purchase military aircraft, and that's all that really matters to them. These forecasts are based on the reconciliation of various publicly available reports from institutions such as the CIA, the IMF, and the UN. They also include a small amount of data from a variety of dark sources such as web gurus, blah, 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 blah. And then you can see the number on the side too, with the population going down from 7.4 billion in 2017 to be projected at 6.9 billion by 2025. And look, there have been, we've talked about this forever. There have been countless people who are in positions of power in this country who have talked about the need to get the population down. And still, these imbeciles don't listen to what they say. They let these people have positions of power instead of the people rising up against these so-called chosen or elected officials. Actually, no, because Gates isn't somebody who was elected. You have, Ted Turner. Oh my goodness, Ted Turner. Who created the most, what's the term? Lopsided, worst news network in the history of the world? Oh, that would be Ted Turner. He created CNN. Right? So what do you, let me read some more stuff from this just so you have an idea. This highly regarded intelligence organization has a bleak prospect for the United States in the years to come, including an 81% decline in its population from 327 million in 2017 to 100 million in 2025. In fact, it predicated a similar catastrophic fate for the UK, Australia, Germany, Japan, Denmark, and other U.S. allies. Right? And you didn't hear Russia in there either, right? Let's say expand over there on purpose to create a bigger superpower. If you haven't figured out what's going on already, pretty clear to see, right? If the governments actually came out and talked about how, well, we don't want the population to grow and we want to take the citizens down, they'd be in trouble because the military themselves would probably stop protecting these people. But they create something out of a movie, right? You got this country wants to invade that country. This country wants to fight this one. This one's becoming a superpower. China's out of control. They've got all this technology. America's got a buffoon running for not running, sitting and pretending to be the president. Boom. Then when the population continues to go down, you have numerous things on the tip of your finger to blame it on. And, never mention of all these people who have said they want to depopulate, all these things that we've seen, documents, things like the Georgia Guidestones that talk about getting the population down and how there's going to be food shortages and all this stuff. It wasn't because there's going to be. They're doing these things on purpose so they can get the population down, and they're all working together. But if they told everyone that, there would be an uprising. But that's why they have to create a show. And everybody's been ingrained with this to happen at some point because they have predictive programming their whole lives. From war to video games and war, Call of Duty and all of that stuff. So everything happened. Oh yeah, this is something that really happens, and this is countries are really doing this with each other. This is there's food shortages. We see that in the movie. We see this. I mean, it's just them telling you what's coming. And if you don't see it at this point, it's going to be too late pretty soon. So Depop is something they've been talking about. 2025, what is around the corner? What is the plan? Because we know we're in phase 2 now. Right? And there's going to be more and more people who are lining up to get boosts as more and more stories come out. There's going to be many, many things that occur that are going to get the population down over the next couple of years. Now, we know Agenda 2030 is when everything is supposed to be completed by. And 2025, right around the corner. What's to occur before Biden's next election? Will they fake Biden's death and cause more chaos in America? Will they do this nonsense with Russia before Biden can leave office, right? So America's still sitting here vulnerable. Will Biden somehow win the next election, which would make the people people in this country go insane because they'd say it's completely rigged, which it's always been. And it's never been a democracy, which they're revealing to everybody now because they want to set up an entire new government, which is a global government. Well, the only way you do that is by destroying the governments that are in place. So how do you do that? Well, you pretend you finally come out and admit that votes don't count or they're rigged elections, they say. When in reality, it's never been an election. They've always been rigged. They've just picked who they want in there, the people who control everything, the Federal Reserve, the Rockefeller Foundation, all these people. They pick who they want and put them there. The people have never had any say in anything, ever. And these people who are in power, they've never worked for the people ever. They've been working to set this up for now. And people have just been distracted for centuries. Our grandparents, our parents, great-grandparents, people who are no longer with us allowed this to occur because they were happy with the economic boom and they got it. You could work, like I keep saying, I said it a million times. People like in the 60s, you could bag groceries and be a homeowner, right? They set this up and spoiled people so that they could take the tax money and print money and build this entire world underground that they have. Build up what they're planning on doing worldwide, do these rituals that they constantly do with children. I mean, all of it was just been happening, and now it's all done. So what do you think they're going to do while it's all set up? Just go, yeah, we don't want to do it anymore. No, what you're seeing is them going, it's complete. Now it's time to turn on the citizens. We've given them spoiled them for long enough. They didn't spoil people because they cared about them. They spoiled them so that they could do what they're about to do. Make them unprepared, dumbed down, incapable of taking care of themselves, incapable of doing anything that really is of value in this world. So that when this stuff happens, the ones who survive what they do will turn to Big Brother and just be happy that Big Brother is giving them handouts like food and things like that. When in reality, they still don't even need people to be here, but they'll have them as their servants. Crazy world we live in. They can openly talk about Depop, people like Billy, and people still can't see what they've done and are continuing to do because it ain't over yet.
I want you to look. These numbers kind of differ. They range from the low 30s.